Hello everyone, welcome back, and here's another product review on the table. So today we're looking at a power supply from Corsair, and this is out of their RM series, this specifically being the RM750, fully modular, 80 plus gold certified. I mean, at this point, you're probably only looking for power supplies with fully modular and 80 plus gold certified if you can afford it, minimum. If you don't know about the 80 plus gold or 80 plus certifications, you can Google that. But there are lots of different levels. They're all based on some sort of metal, like gold, titanium, platinum, blah, 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 whatever. It doesn't matter. So basically, we're taking a look at this unit. This is from the RM series of Corsair's power supplies. And there are like two power supply versions from Corsair that are basically the same, but slightly different. This is the RM series, and then there's also the RMX, which, so if you have like your RM750, like this one, there's also an RM750X. And really the difference between the two is that the X series is slightly quieter, has a better fan, and some slightly better componentry inside. Some of the capacitors are a little bit higher rated, better quality, yada, yada, yada. Ultimately, if you look for them in, like, say, Newegg or something of that nature, they're almost the same price. And honestly, before I even start this review, if you're looking between the two of those, go get the X series. I mean, because half the time they're like $5 difference, and I think you get a better quality power supply for your money for $5. You get a better fan, you get a better noise rating, all that stuff for very, very little extra money. If you're already spending like $114, $120 on a power supply, you might as well just chuck an extra $5 at it and get the better of the two. That being said, let's get on with the review. So Corsair, they give you some good stuff in the box, zip ties and screws as you'd expect these days. Honestly, I expect that to come with every power supply these days. They've set a new standard. So this power supply itself actually, in my opinion, looks fantastic. I really, really love the tessellated triangle patterns on all of the grills. I love that the grills are integrated, just smooth right into the case of the power supply. Very cool. I also like the idea that these are fully modular units, although I honestly don't really get the point of fully modular units to some extent, right? Because you're spending an extra money for that connector that's effectively just a connector that you're always going to have plugged in, because the 24-pin connector for the motherboard is always being used, unless you're using this as some sort of strange secondary power supply to only power graphics cards. I don't know. That's neither here nor there. Let's take a look at this power supply. Looking at the bottom, look at that grill. Oh, looks great. Corsair logo, fantastic. I really love the tiny, like skinny lines for the triangles. They really punched this out well. And I'm just gonna like peel this real quick. Peel it. There we go. Oh man, that was a tough logo to peel. Anyway, the unit itself, very cool. All the plugs, you get all the plugs. Tons and tons and tons of ports here. It's a 750 watt power supply, so I'm not really sure if you're really going to be using this to power like a server that has multiple processors, but maybe you will. I don't know. You get tons of cables with this unit though, and obviously plenty of ports on the back. Like I said, I still don't really understand the whole concept of having this motherboard plug thing with two separate sets of connectors. You know, it is what it is. But as you can see, they're all lined up real nice. They look good, and honestly, great constructed unit. It feels nice and weighty, which I've always said is like a measure of a quality power supply. If you've ever grabbed a cheap power supply and just like felt it in your hands, it feels like the case is empty. It's pretty impressive. So nice rocker switch on the back, feels good. More of that triangle pattern that I really, really love. And yeah, I mean, it's a great looking unit. I love the black wrinkle paint that we're using on all these power supplies now. It keeps the fingerprints down. Looks nice. So as you can see, the main cable here is kind of a flat cable, but not really. We've put some wire wrap on that and shrink wrapped it, but it's been done pretty well. It's the coating is quality. So yeah, the rest of the cables are nice and flat like this. Speaking of cables, you get 3 of the 8-pin like EPS like CPU power cables. You get 3 of those for whatever reason. And then you also get 2 PCI Express leads that are 6 plus 2. So you get 4 total PCI Express leads. In addition to that, you also get 1 peripheral, like standard 4-pin power plug, and that has 4 plugs on it. But you only get 1, so that's kind of weird. You could probably actually, since these all share the same pin sets, you could probably steal one from another power supply if you try hard and believe in yourself. And then as far as SATA, you get 2 4-plug SATA cables and then 2 3-plug SATA cables. So that's 6 plus 8, total of 14. That's an amount of SATA. So much SATA. We'll take a look at the actual unit itself as far as power is concerned and stuff like that. I went ahead and installed this in my case, and it replaces an RM750X, which is the older generation of the higher end version of the RM series, right? So they look pretty similar. They feel really similar. Obviously, that one's a 650 watt power supply. This one's 750 watts. But when I stick them on the actual machine and I check for things like noise, etc., you don't hear the noise over the rest of my case fans, and my case is kind of loud. You can actually hold on. Let me give you a nice little audio sample here. Yeah, there's a lot of air moving around this office, and quite frankly, I can't probably be the best person to guide you through what's quiet because it doesn't really bother me that much. I have noise canceling headphones. That being said, the fan doesn't run under 300 watts load, and that's actually been proven by me. I measured that with a kilowatt power meter, and the fan kicks on at 300 watts. Anything under that, you're not actually running the fan, so the unit is effectively quiet at idle. And honestly, my GPU is louder than the fan of this power supply, even when I'm gaming, so not an issue there. Really, really nice unit in that particular regard. They also use the same power at idle. Here's a couple of pictures of my kilowatt power meter, or my P3 kilowatt power meter, which is effectively a unit that just measures your power consumption on a standard AC power lead. So looking at these numbers, this is for a 24-hour period. You used about the same. Now, keeping in mind this is the RM750 versus, say, what would be the RM750X. The RM750X would probably be a little bit better in this number, but it does seem to basically line up with the old RM650X. So the previous generation higher performance unit is about the same as the newer regular one, which I think is good. That kind of tells you that Corsair is still sort of trickling down their technology. And so, you know, if this PSU is the kind of PSU you want and you really don't want to spend the extra couple of bucks for the other one, I think this unit is perfectly acceptable. For me, installation was a breeze. It's a power supply. It's not rocket science. All the leads are really, really good. I had one issue, and the one issue I had is this. We have these PCI Express leads, the 6 plus 2 PCIe power leads, which is a pretty standard setup these days. I mean, everybody's using them. The biggest problem here is that with the plus 2, the secondary little pin thing, Corsair seems to have put these leads, like, they've seemed to have tangled them up a bit on some of these connectors. So you have a flat cable, which looks amazing. And then you get to the end where you have to add this extra, like, 2-pin piece to make an 8-pin connector. And you got to twist it around itself to line it up correctly with the rest of the plug. Well, that's a little bit shoddy. Like, come on now, Corsair. Seriously? You can do better than that. It wouldn't be a problem if these cables were like sort of just round, but they're not. They're flat, so twisting cables in a flat cable kind of looks a little jank. So I'm a little disappointed in that, but otherwise, everything's been fine. It's a power supply. It works. It's probably not going to set your house on fire. Yeah, the standards are... We've come a long way in the, if you pay $100 and change for your power supply, you're probably going to get a good unit. And at Corsair, I've had 6 of them now, and all the Corsair units I have just seem to work. So that gives you a lot of, that could probably give you a lot of confidence, I'd say. You know, you should be able to rest easy knowing that. And otherwise, I love the look of the Corsair units. I've always thought that they've made a decent looking power supply for quite a while, and all the ones I have are still working in various capacities around the house. So I think it's safe to say that these are good units. That's about all I've got for this. I didn't really have a ton to say about a power supply. I mean, it works, right? Like, you load it up, it works, it consumes very little power. I don't have a fancy, like, power supply torture test load bench thing, although maybe I should look into building one. I seem to review a lot of power supplies. Anyway, that being said, thanks for watching. Enjoy, and talk to you guys later.